What is up, guys? Ninja Nick back with another round of this league challenge at ALA Tompkins TCG in Pleasant Valley, New York. As I promised in the last video, I now have a round timer attached to my videos here. It was pretty easy to set up, much like I'm using the same exact program that I use as the countdown timer when I'm going live on Twitch. You know, like to have that like 5-minute buffer window to have people click the link that pops up the notification on their phones. So I have like this countdown timer to say when I'm actually gonna start. Same program, so very easy setup, exact same way. So now I'm gonna have an approximate round timer on all my games. It won't be exact, of course, but I'm gonna try to keep it as close as possible. So we have Alex on the left. He is a senior player who is very good. He does have his invitation to the World Championships for this past season, the 2023 season. So he is practicing for Worlds at this tournament for the most part. Against myself, I chose to, surprisingly, not play Rapid Strike this time. The Rapid Spice, as I call it, is in my backpack. Because I wanted to try out Gardevoir. I think Gardevoir is just a fun deck, and I could really use more practice with it, because the more practice you get with every deck, the better you can play against them as well. So, plus Gardevoir, just in my opinion, is the best deck in the format altogether. I am starting the Mew with the Mysterious Tail, and using the Battle VIP Pass to get a couple of Ralts down onto my bench, along with having used that Concealed cards as well to draw a couple extra cards with the Radiant Greninja. So all things that are pretty much self-explanatory for the Gardevoir deck, all things that you want to do. So do not have too much experience with the Gardevoir deck. I played it a little bit when it first released, but not too much since then, so I will not be playing as optimally as I should, because pretty much all of my testing in this format is with Rapid Strike. So we pass it over to Alex here. My turn wasn't too great. I got just down 2 Ralts. It would have been great to have at least 3 in play, but that's all that I could have done with my hand. So passing it over to Alex, he starts the Meloetta and gets the Ice Cube down onto his bench, is able to flip heads with the Cramomatic to get the Battle VIP Pass, so now he can search his deck for any 2 Fusion Strike Pokemon. The Rapid Strike, of course, does not have a good matchup against this, so that's one of the multiple reasons why I chose not to play it this day. But mostly I just wanted to test Gardevoir. I actually saw that there was another player that I knew was playing Mew in the room, so I kind of decided to play the Gardevoir. And then Alex told me that he was also playing Mew, and I'm just like, okay, this makes me comfortably play the Gardevoir, as opposed to like wanting to change last minute like I did at the previous league challenge I played before this. We do have an Elisa Sparkle here as well. He's going to select both the Ice Cube and the Meloetta as his 2 targets. So the Ice Cube is really cool. It does 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each Fusion Strike energy that is in play, so you can use that to snipe Kirlias off the bench, or you can use it to get rid of Octilleries if I were playing Rapid Strike, or all sorts of other easy single prize Pokemon. Even if you have all 4 of the Fusion Strike energy in play, you can even snipe a Squawkabilly off the bench. So pretty powerful attack. It's nice to have a solid way to do bench damage in the Mew deck like that. We are also seeing a Choice Belt come down to the Meloetta, so that it could potentially one-shot a Zacian. Would be pretty good for him. So we're going to Ultra Ball away Ultra Ball and Power Tablet. And I believe this is the point where I say, yep, I tap on the Ultra Ball and I said, because you're playing all secret rares, that makes you more skilled. That's what I say in my YouTube videos, like almost word for word what I said there. And then he just laughed. Yeah, I always think it's funny to just tell people, if they have full arts, if they have gold cards, I always tell them, Oh yeah, you're more skilled than me because you have the better looking cards, right? It's just a joke, but it's a fun one that I can't stop saying. And of course, Alex uses his second Genesect. He likes to put them upside down on the bench there as he's using their abilities. So kind of looks like they're confused on the bench, but it's a great way to signify that he's already used the abilities. That way we don't accidentally get too many abilities going in one turn. You always want to make sure you keep your play as clean as possible, and Alex is really good at that. He is, I think, a relatively new player. I think he started at some point after COVID, but he is probably, in my opinion, already one of the biggest threats in our area. He is really good. He was the only senior, so he did win by default at this league challenge, but as you can see, he's really gonna do his best to push my shit in, for the lack of a better term. So I do get double Kirlia evolutions here onto both of my rolls. He did snipe the Mew off of my bench. I'm a little surprised that he went for the Mew specifically, because it feels a lot better to pick off a Ralt, but in hindsight, he's doing that because he's trying to make it so I have the least likely out to rare candy Gardevoir EX, because that's the thing that can punish him the most on this turn. So I actually like the knocking out of the Mew. So I'm going to be able to use my concealed cards, discarding a Psychic to draw 2. Now I use Refinement to discard another card and draw 2, which of course is another Psychic Energy. I want to stack as many of those in play as possible. I do have to play the Collapse Stadium because I did play the Professor's Research. A little bit unfortunate that I had to put a Stadium in play so early because of course this deck, the opponent's deck, the Mew, plays usually multiple copies of either Lost City or Path to the Peak or both. So I want to make sure that I have the counters to his stadiums at all times. Also, very important to note that the Ice Cube, the double turbo energy that he does have on it, does count towards the bench damage as well. I did double check that as well. And the he still gets the knockout on the Mew. Either way, he does need, I believe, one additional Fusion Strike energy in order to snipe a Kirlia, though. So the double turbo on that does make me feel a little bit better about the current situation I'm in, but I'm really still trying to piece together quite literally anything I can do this turn. I lost my rare candy in the research as well, so I just have to go for a pass. This doesn't feel good. I do attach to the Greninja just in case he does snipe my Kirlia. I can still have a way to retreat on the next turn. I think I do have yet another additional Psychic Energy in my hand potentially. I think that's why I attached it as well, because otherwise I might have wanted to... Oh yeah, I have the Fog Crystal at least. I just saw that in my hand. So we're going to see the Pal Pad is going to shuffle the Elisa Sparkle back in. Usually these Fusion Strike Mew decks are playing only 2 copies of Elisa Sparkle. He's likely just playing the Pal Pad out of his hand just to be able to draw more cards. I did Collapse Stadium to get rid of one of his Mew in play, so even though I didn't get full value off of it because I didn't replace my opponent's Stadium, at least I did limit his bench so he has less Mew Vs in play. He can draw less with Genesect V as well. And you see, he is going to be using the nice patented Ninja Nick V-Star marker. He is going to be able to search his deck for any one card. Let's see what he gets here. Looks like he's going to choose the Lost City. And yeah, that is a predicament. If he is able to get another Fusion Strike energy in play, he can snipe my Kirlia directly into the Lost Zone. The Lost City still counts even if you're knocking out a benched Pokemon. He also does have an additional Genesect in hand as well. So the Collapse Stadium that I played isn't going to be really limiting him too much. And yeah, here I am reading the Lost City just to double check to make sure he can still Lost Zone my Kirlia, even if he snipes it with the Ice Cube. And he does have the Path to the Peak in hand as well, so that's really good for him to have for when I finally get my Gardevoir EX into play. So he's just going to draw some extra cards with his first Genesect. He's going to use his Choice Belt, just going to put that down on a Mew in case it matters on a Zacian. Usually the Choice Belt doesn't matter too much in this matchup, but it can against the Zacian if I somehow power it up without getting any damage counters on it. Looks like we are going to go for the Cram-O-Matic Flipping Heads. We're going to search our deck for yet another card of our choice. And I think all that he needs right here is the Fusion Strike energy yet again. So I think you would grab that, you attach it to whatever Pokemon. Looks like we're going to choose the Meloetta. I think that's probably the best choice, just because the Muse can attack for a double turbo. And then a Judge after that too to limit my options. So I think I had more than 4 cards in hand. I think I had 5 or 6. So I'm not liking the Judge because I don't want my hand limited, especially when I'm not fully set up yet. Not quite drawing the best this game. And I don't really have a good out to these single prize Pokemon right now either. It would be nice if I was playing maybe Reversal Energy. I feel like Reversal Energy would be really good here to be able to just evolve into a Shining Arcana Gardevoir and then attach that to it to be able to Brainwave for 150 without having to even get the Gardevoir EX in play. That would be really cool. So maybe I'll consider adding that to my deck in the future, but I think just full consistency playing only Psychic Energies is a lot better. So here we are both drawing 4 cards from the Judge. And of course, Alex can draw an additional 2 with this Genesect here he has on the bench for a full 6 cards in hand. Now he's just deciding what he wants to do here. So definitely going to Ice Cube and knock out that Kirlia. The whole Pokemon line goes directly into the Lost Zone. So big sad here from me. Nothing much I can do here to stop that unless I can knock out the Ice Cube, but I, again, don't have anything going on right now. My hand, it looks like I have a Level Ball, I have a Zacian, but I need to get that Gardevoir EX into play to start accelerating these energies I have in the discard into play. That is the whole point of the Gardevoir EX deck. And as you can see on the timer, we have about 37 minutes left on the clock. And, you know, I'm going to be hard-pressed for time just trying to piece this together. It's one of the downsides of playing Gardevoir, even though it is the strongest deck in the format. It really does just have a really hard time against the timer. It's because a lot of the games as Gardevoir feel very winnable, so it's very hard to scoop early. Because you can always just pull the win out of nowhere. I am playing the Sky Seal Stone, of course, so I can always take a knockout on a Mew VMAX for 4 prize cards. So all I need to do is really just like boss up a Genesect, hit it for at least 190 to knock it out, and then on the next turn do big Zacian with Sky Seal Stone in order to win the game. So I do not have enough Kirlias to thin my deck out quite enough, because sometimes this deck does like to just deck itself out so it has access to all of its options. You could always just like deck yourself out and then play Palpad to put a couple boss back into the deck so that you have those for the next turn in case you get Iono'd or Judged or whatnot. But again, having really a hard time with my setup, but as long as I get the Gardevoir EX and big Zacian, if I can get enough energy in the discard pile, I could always just along with a boss's orders, I could just knock out Genesect. So that is exactly what I'm going for. I'm going for a Genesect knockout this turn. I think I might actually have the boss's orders in hand. I don't remember exactly. I mean, this was only a few hours ago. I don't know how I just don't remember this right now. I do definitely have at least the Zacian V in hand. I'm going to play the Heavy Ball. I am choosing to play 1 Zacian V and 1 Heavy Ball. Because it is nice to be able to find stuff out of your prize cards. The other reason is I can't find my second Zacian V. I know I have 2 because I bought one when Gardevoir first became a thing. And then afterwards realized I already owned one. So I had 2, but I've never, since I haven't played the deck that much, I don't know where my second one is anymore. I misplaced it. So I had to order another one online and it hasn't come yet. And I said, it's not going to matter enough, so I'll just play the Heavy Ball instead of the second one. But of course, going forward, once that comes in the mail, I will be playing the 2. But like they even had one there at the store I could have bought probably for $1, but I spent like $2 after shipping to get the Zacian V, so I didn't really want to buy yet another one. I'm just that stubborn. I'm sorry, guys. So I do get the Gardevoir EX into play. I do have a Cresselia now. And the play that I am actually going for, because I don't have enough energy in discard and stuff in order to be... Oh, this is a misplay too. So I thought that I didn't have... I don't know why, because I just looked at my prize cards with the heavy ball. I thought that there were no Ralts left in my deck. I thought I had put them all into play already, but I only really put like three of them into play total. So I should not have played that Super Rod there. I should have held it. But my intention here is to go for the Moonglow Reverse with the Cresselia with a full bench in order to knock out the Meloetta on the opponent's bench, which will then get rid of 2 Fusion Strike energies and make it so that Ice-Q is no longer usable, while also getting rid of the threat of the Melodious Echo. So this is a really good play. But unfortunately, the only Psychic Pokemon I have in my hand is the Zacian, so I'm forced to bench that now. And since I used the Super Rod, I was intending to get the Mew, thinking that I didn't have the Ralts left. But again, just looked at my prize cards, should have known I had 1 Ralts left in my deck. So I level ball for the Ralts. And then, yeah, I put 5 energies into play, which puts 20 damage onto each one of my Pokemon. Each one of my Psychic Pokemon that just got an energy. And then I move all 10 of those damage counters to the Meloetta, taking the knockout with the Moonglow Reverse. So still a pretty great turn, even though I didn't get to exactly what I wanted to. I wanted to get to Boss Genesect Knockout. That would have felt a lot better. But this is still pretty decent as well. Because now those Fusion Strike energies are no longer in play. So Alex only has access to 1 more Fusion Strike energy for the rest of the game. And... I mean, unless he attaches it specifically to the Ice-Q, he's not really getting any value out of it. So, looks like we Nest Ball for another Pokemon. We're going to play an Ultra Ball as well, I think. We're discarding the Mew VMAX and the Fusion Strike energy because, of course, that's not really super useful anymore. We are going to search through our deck and find another Pokemon, or we're just going to fail it. And it looks like we are considering maybe playing that Iono. I think that's the last card in hand, but I don't have that many cards in hand, so I don't think he wants to play that. He might just rely on his Genesects and not play the Iono at all. My opponent is at 4 remaining prize cards, and I'm really hoping that I don't see my opponent Boss knock out the Zacian this turn. This is the punish for my Moonglow Reverse turn. Because again, I'm really trying to set up that Zacian to be able to take a big KO, but also using this Moonglow Reverse spreads all my energy out so wide that I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get a big knockout with the Zacian. So now I have a bench sitter that's a 2 prizer that has low HP. So I think at this point, when I just missed the knockout on the Genesect with the Zacian this turn, I should have been able to recognize that I could not win the game and just scoop and go to the next game to save time. But we're so far into the game, and it still feels a little bit winnable to me. As long as my opponent doesn't have Boss, that I still stay in the play. And of course, he gets the Boss, so he's going to go down to 2 remaining prize cards this turn. Feels bad. We even get the switch cart so that we can conserve the energy on the Ice-Q. We don't have to retreat it at all. We can still potentially attack with the Ice-Q in the future if maybe we miss a knockout on a Gardevoir EX. It would still be pretty good to bench type that. We're going to play a couple Power Tablets as well just to burn them to draw extra cards. Because you know you're never going to be one-shotting a Gardevoir EX unless you basically have access to all your Power Tablets, unless you're also playing the Cleansing Gloves, which I don't think he is. I think he's just playing Choice Belt. So you'd have to play all 4 Power Tablet in one turn to one-shot a Gardevoir EX. And his first turn, he did cram away one of them. So also plays the Path to the Peak that we already saw that was in his hand earlier. And, yep, take the knockout. So now I can't use... Psychic Embrace with my Gardevoir EX. So I'm going to promote my Cresselia because it already has an energy on it. I can always retreat that energy back off. And I'm honestly considering trying to 2-shot this thing with a 1 prize Gardevoir, but that doesn't feel good. Alex just straightening out his board here. Because sometimes when you retreat your Pokemon around, sometimes the board gets a little weird. So I use a Refinement. Now I'm using Shining Arcana. Not finding any energy off of it, unfortunately. I would really like to see multiple energies off my Shining Arcana so that then I can get that loaded up and do a big Brainwave this turn. But I also need to replace the Path to the Peak. And I'm still thinking about potentially going for a Boss's Orders play on a Genesect or that Mew on the bench. But I have to be able to find the cards to do that. So I've used the Refinement and the Shining Arcana, and I don't have another Psychic Energy in hand. So I can't even use the... no, I can use the Radiant Greninja because I have a Psychic Energy, but it's just the Path to the Peak that's blocking me from using the Greninja right now. So I am going to Ultra Ball. Looks like I'm discarding the second Gardevoir, Brainwave Gardevoir, with 2 Ultra Balls. And then we're going to Fog Crystal for an energy. And then I think the other card in my hand is a Stadium. So I think I play the Stadium and then I can Concealed Cards. Is that what I do? And no, I just realized that I can't get, oh no, what I prized what I was looking for. Yeah, I forgot exactly what I was looking for this turn, but I looked through my deck with that Fog Crystal, realized that it wasn't in deck, and I just decided to scoop. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing I could do there at that point. Honestly, I should have just scooped at least one turn earlier. We only have about 28 minutes left on the clock, so I'm going to really have to play a fast game 2 in order to have any chance to even play game 3 whatsoever. So we are shuffling up here. Maybe I can fast forward a little bit to get into game 2 just a little bit quicker. Can we do that? So I put out my prize cards. There's 7 prize cards there. I do notice that. I double check. I'm like, wait a minute, that looks too big, and I count it. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, 7. So the last one I put down is supposed to be my top card of deck, so I just put that back. That's why when you draw cards, you should always just, like, draw from the deck face down like that. I always do that with, like, Professor's Research and stuff. And as you can see with my concealed cards, I draw them face down like that first to make sure I am drawing the correct amount of cards, because you do not want to accidentally draw an extra card. And as you can see here, this might be a little bit of a misplay as well. But we go for, and he's jokingly saying, so you're failing the first 2, right? But no, I'm playing the Battle VIP past the Fog Crystal and the Ultra Ball all at the same time. I could have kept one of those energies and discarded an Iono that I have in hand instead. I think my hand is double Iono Rare Candy, so I think it would have been safe. I am playing 4 Iono here. I think it would have been safe to discard one of those and keep the Psychic Energy, and then instead of one of these Ralts, I could have gotten the Mew, retreated into the Mew, and then used Mysterious Tail to maybe find another Level Ball or Battle VIP Pass or something to get the last Ralts into play or something like that. I think that definitely would have been the better play. I noticed that almost immediately after I do it. I think right as I look at my hand here, I think I noticed it. Yeah, there's double Iono and the Rare Candy. And then we just get judged anyway, so. And I show my hand, I'm like, what, you don't want me to double Iono Rare Candy? So, yeah, it would have been a lot better to go into the Mew there. Get one less Ralts into play, but potentially still get the last one off of the ability of the Mew. Because Alex knows he's not going to be knocking out any of my Pokemon this turn, because Mew can only attack on turn 2 most of the time, unless he is playing Elisa Sparkle. But he did open with a Judge. All he did was start Oricorio and play Judge, so his hand was terrible before that, but the first card he draws off of Judge, of course I did cut his deck, was the Battle VIP Pass, so now he's going to be able to maybe draw some extra cards. And he did notice that some of his cards were accidentally shuffled into his deck upside down, so he's fixing those. And I'm like, oh, so you just shuffled those cards upside down so you can burn more time in game 2 because you won game 1, so that you can guarantee the win, right? And I think he just ignored me when I said that because it's stupid. We are going to use the Forest Seal Stone that we managed to draw into as well to get a second Battle VIP pass, and now we're really off to the races. We got 2 cards left in hand, and we can start drawing until we have 5 cards in hand with our Genesects. So at least one more Genesect, maybe a second Mew would be good, and that's exactly what Alex goes for here. I think Mew is still a very solid deck, but so many people are just playing Drapions and Spiritombs that I'm not sure personally about the viability of Mew, but it still seems so strong because look at everything that Alex is able to accomplish here. Being able to use that Ice Cube to snipe those Curlias out of play using that Lost City is just so good. And you can, of course, always get around the Spiritomb with the Fusion Strike energies. It's just the Fusion Strike package being placed into the Mew deck does just make it that much less consistent, in my opinion. But Alex seems to be drawn pretty hot with it. Even when he has a dead hand, he can just judge himself into a brand new hand of double Battle VIP Pass, basically. So we are going to, looks like Ultra Ball and fail it to draw some extra cards. And there is the Elisa Sparkle. Can't play that this turn because we have already played that Judge in order to get set up. But we do have one more Genesect if we can thin our hand out a little bit more. Looks like there is one more Ultra Ball. He could always just Ultra Ball to grab the Mew VMAX and then draw a couple more cards. Wouldn't be the worst idea. Looks like we are going to cram away the Lost Vacuum. I like that. That's pretty good. Flips Tails, though. That is a 1 on that Pokemon Go die. In order to draw a couple more cards. Gets another Battle VIP Pass, but can't play that because his bench is full. But he can discard that with the Ultra Ball either this turn or next. So better to save it for the next turn in case I play something like an Iono to disrupt his hand. So I'm going to go with the Fog Crystal. I'm going to search my deck for that basic Psychic Energy card. Of course, Fog Crystal allows you to search for a basic Psychic, whether that be Energy or Pokemon. So we are going to use that for the concealed cards, discarding that energy to draw 2 more. Looks like we did draw into a new Iono we could play. We're going to evolve one of our Ralts into Curlia. Now I think I'm deciding whether or not I want to just Iono before I start using some of these cards. And yeah, it looks like I'm going to go for double Level Ball. So I'm going to try to evolve as many of these Ralts into Curlias as possible, then use my Iono as my supporter card for turn, and then start drawing with the Curlias. That way I can build up a really fresh, good, big hand. Yeah, so I think I'm just waiting for Alex to finish with the Shuffle Cut so I can put my hand on the bottom of the deck and have him do it as well. We are, of course, just going to tap each other's hands because it doesn't matter at this point in the game. And I draw 6, my opponent draws 6 as well, because we draw equal to the amount of prize cards we have. And now I can start using my Curlia's refinement abilities to start stacking this hand up. I did have quite a bit of practice with Zoroark back in the day, but Gardevoir is such a different deck than Zoroark, even though it has that same ability to discard a card and draw 2. Zoroark GX, specifically. Not like Zorobox. Not that sticky poopy Zorobox deck. So we're going to use multiple refinements. Just keep drawing some cards. Getting rid of that Manaphy. We don't need that. Not in this matchup, at least. I do have an Artisan I could use to maybe get another bench Pokemon into play. Maybe like the Cresselia, if I want to attack with that this turn. But I would have to Rare Candy that Ralts into a Gardevoir EX in order to be able to do any sort of attack this turn. I would like to see that. And of course, I don't really want to attack into the Oricorio necessarily. So what is that? We got 20 minutes left on the clock. We're going to Ultra Ball away a Psychic Energy and an Iono to try to find another Pokemon. I think what I'm looking for is not in the deck. Did I prize it? No, yeah, I'm going to go for the Zacian. I think I did prize whatever I was looking for. Honestly, I don't know what I was looking for there. Isn't that great? You can tell how unpracticed I am with Gardevoir by the fact that I don't even remember what I was doing a few hours ago. Oh yeah, I was looking for... Wait, was I looking for an EX to rare candy into? No, I think I was looking for the Cresselia. I think I prized the Cresselia again. I have the rare candy for a Gardevoir. I think I have the EX, but I don't want to necessarily rare candy into it right now and potentially have it get bossed and hit. So I'm just going to hold that in hand, because then any of my Curlias or that Ralt can become it on this next turn. I think I might also have a Curlia in hand here, but it looks like the Escape Rope is coming out. It's going to move that Oricorio to the bench, and it's going to force one of these Pokemon up here, so extra unfortunate I was not able to find that Cresselia, because now that Ralt that I almost rare candied is now in the active spot. So again, good that I didn't rare candy here, because then I would have had to promote a Curlia instead, and if the Lost City comes out again, I would lose a 1-1 Curlia line, and that does not feel good at all. So Alex is trying to piece together a way for him to find the knockout here. He just needs the double turbo energy for his benched Mew, or he needs the Elisa Sparkle along with a Fusion Strike energy. Either of those will do it. So looks like we are going to Ultra Ball away Iono and Meloetta in order to search our deck for another Mew VMAX to evolve this active Mew, and then we can Genesect to just try to find that double turbo energy, or again the Fusion Strike energy with Elisa Sparkle combo. We are just gonna fail to find here, it looks like. So either we already have the Mew VMAX in hand, or it's prized. Yeah, we have Switch Cart in hand, so we are just going to draw 5 here. We do get Fusion Strike Energy, Elisa Sparkle. You'll love to see it. So we're going to try to Cram-O-Matic, getting rid of the Battle VIP Pass. We are going to hit the head, so maybe we can just go for the Double Turbo instead here. Save that Elisa Sparkle for a future turn. And grabs the Box of Disaster with it. So this is it's truly a Box of Disaster, because this is a disaster for me. So, Alex grabs that. So if his Pokemon, what the Box of Disaster says is, if this Pokemon is at full HP and gets knocked out, do 8 damage counters to your opponent's attacker. So if I one-shot it with Zacian, the Zacian dies. Because of how much HP is left on the Zacian, it takes those 8 damage counters and just goes down. So it looks like Alex is still digging just a little bit more here. He's going to attach a Fusion Strike energy for the turn. I think I would like to see the Elisa Sparkle come out before that last Genesect. Just in case you did accidentally draw into all of the Fusion Strike energy remaining in your deck. I think it would have been better to do it that way, but of course gets the one Mew VMAX loaded up, as well as the other Mew V is now 1 energy away from being able to be an attacker as well. Is going to switch into this Mew VMAX, and now I'm going to be really hard pressed to find an answer to this Mew VMAX. Because, of course, again, the Box of Disaster. Gardevoir does not play Lost Vacuum generally, and that is the only out to Box of Disaster. So I'm just going to have to hit into this Mew either this turn or in a future turn in order to try to get around that Box of Disaster. But One-shotting him and taking the 8 damage counters from Box of Disaster is just as good as trying to 2-shot him, because if I try to 2-shot him with just the Brainwave of the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, he's going to take 2 prizes, because he's going to take a prize on the first Gardevoir and then maybe a second. Whereas I could just take the knockout with the Zacian and let him take the 2 prizes immediately. So, it feels bad either way. The best course of action for me right now would be to actually Boss's Orders up the Mew on the bench that has that energy card on it and knock that out, if I can set up the single prize Gardevoir. But I don't think I either don't notice that play or don't have it. Yeah, I definitely have Boss's Orders in hand, so I definitely should go for it. But I don't do that. I'm setting up the Sky Seal Stone play here right now. I'm going to go for the knockout and take 4 prizes and just hope that my opponent doesn't disrupt my hand, which I don't know what I'm thinking. Gardevoir plays like 16 Judge and 47 Iono, so I already have a huge hand as it is. My hand is so huge, in fact, that I'm just discarding researches with the Kirlias. I do have the Gardevoir EX now in play along with the Zacian V. And I think I did see the boss up the Mew V and knock it out play after I bench the Zacian, so I just say, well, it's already in play. If my opponent gets a Boss's Orders and knocks it out, I'm in a pretty bad spot, so I might as well just full send and hope it works out. And I'm not sure if that was the right thought process, but it was the thought process, just to explain exactly what I am doing here. So there is the Sky Seal Stone. Oh yeah, because also, I'm like, if my opponent, judges me, then they could judge me out of the Sky Seal Stone Zacian. So do I want to just try to get the value with it now, and try to refine the Boss's Orders next turn to use with the single prize Gardevoir? So yeah, that's my thought process. So we're gonna damage ourselves by 40 so that we can retreat this Kirlia into the Zacian. And we do have the 9 energies, I believe, that is required in order to take the 1-hit knockout on the Mew VMAX. It will do exactly 330. Minus 20 from the Oricorio is 310. And I'm actually forgetting about the damage reduction from the Oricorio right now. I'm so focused on the active position that I'm not looking at the bench right now, and that's going to come up in a little bit. But it does not matter here because we are hitting for 330. I was just trying to count up to 310 and just managed to hit the right number anyway. As we can see, I love those Japanese damage markers. They are really cool. I like them a lot better than just using dice. I used to use like the Pokemon Worlds dice and the, the Charizard box dice and the TC Evolutions ones, which are way overpriced. Never buy TC Evolutions dice. You can buy like Worlds dice because they're worth the money because they're so exclusive, but so we go for the V-Star and we take the 4 prize knockout. So now this is definitely making it so my opponent is going to want to judge me here. And yeah, 9 energy back to the discard pile because I do knock myself out here. And I do promote the Radiant Greninja because I know that I do not want my opponent to be taking a knockout on the Kirlias or the Gardevoir. At least if I can avoid it. And also the fact that I could not attach for turn to the Kirlia to retreat it is also a little bit relevant here. I do have 1 Psychic Energy in my hand right now, but that did come off the prize cards. And you're going to see why that matters in a minute as well. So we get the double Turbo Energy onto the Mew. We just need to find the Mew VMAX here in order to take a knockout. We're going to Palpad back in Iono Judge, and I said, why are you doing that? You don't need those. Like, I don't want to see those, but it looks like he doesn't have one of those in hand, so he is going to try to dig into one. And, like, I literally show him my hand. I'm like, you sure you want to judge this back into my deck? I don't think you do. How many cards is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 card hand. Yeah, so we got about 10 minutes left on the clock. I have a 13 card hand. He definitely wants to judge that, put it to 4. Especially since I only have 2 Pokemon in play that can potentially draw cards. Because one of those is going to get knocked out for sure this turn. Probably the Radiant Greninja, since that is in the active spot. But we do see the Ultra Ball is going to discard Nest Ball and the Elisa Sparkle. Already used one Elisa Sparkle this game, so definitely does not need access to the second one. Already had 3 Fusion Strike energies in play, so never going to really get that last one out of there, especially since he attached the double turbo for turn, so perfect discard there. And we are going to start drawing some extra cards, see if we can find our way into that Judge or Iono. We find yet another Forest Seal Stone to just put down and potentially draw more cards. And here we go, one more Genesect, one more card to draw. We're going to put down the Lost City. And then last Genesect, one more card. And then we take the knockout. So we, did we take the knockout? Oh yeah, so we do, it looks like we did miss the Judge here. But we use Glistening Droplets from the Oricorio. We use Cross Fusion Strike to copy that to knock out the Kirlia. And he has 10 damage left, so he puts it on the other Kirlia. That's important. He should have put it on the Gardevoir EX, which he realizes later in the game. You would think it doesn't matter, but it actually does, and we will get to why that matters in a second. So I go for the boss's orders. I'm going to bring up one of the Genesect here. I'm going to retreat, attach and retreat into the Gardevoir, use the ability, and try to take the knockout for 190, but he says, don't forget about my Oricorio, and this was a huge punt from me. I had the game won here. I actually had Super Rod Ultra Ball in my hand, so I could have Super Rodded the Zacian back into my deck, and Ultra Balled for it, put it onto the bench, and then one-shot the Genesect here. I could have even one-shot the Mew even without having to do the boss's orders, but I was so intent on trying not to make a misplay, on not tunneling, because I know that's exactly what I do. I'm like, I know I hit 190, I know the Genesect is 190, I have everything I need, just the boss's orders plus what's in play. Not me, let me not play extra cards, let me not do something extra that will potentially allow me to misplay, which the thought process was certainly correct. But I completely blindsided, got blindsided by the Oricorio because I forgot that was a thing, and now I'm 20 short of a knockout on that Genesect, and I am uber punished here because I even had to put the full energy onto, the full 3 energy from the discard onto this Gardevoir. So I have 60 damage on it. If there was one more on it, he would actually have enough with the power tablets, I believe, to be able to take the knockout, whatever power tablets he has left. But he's going to be 10 short if he does play his power tablets out. So that is his mistake there. So this is ending up coming out to be a really crazy game, because of course I punted it, and you wouldn't think that that 10 damage on the Kirlia mattered, but it ended up really mattering. If I had 70 on me, I would be at, let's see, I would be at 240 remaining, and then he could hit me for 240 with 2 power tablets, and I do believe he has the 2 power tablets left, I think is what we were discussing. So he's gonna be 10 short, and it's gonna make this real weird. It's gonna make it real weird. Normally he puts his Genesect upside down, but he's like, there's a lot of damage counters on that. I'm not doing that. I'm just turning it sideways this time, which is fair, perfectly fair. So he does get a Cram-O-Matic and an item that he can easily discard, the Battle VIP Pass, so he is going to potentially go for that. It looks like we do flip a Tails this time. We are going to go for the second Genesect. Going to draw a couple extra cards. Attaches a double turbo to his Genesect on the bench, again, just to draw some more cards. And I think that might have been the power tablet. So, like, had he... Or no, it's Path to the Peak. So he's replacing the stadium so that I can't use Gardevoir's ability here. And this is really rough. So this is a really odd spot. So he only has that one Mew VMAX in play. I think the correct play for him to do is to actually Glistening Droplets my active for the full 5. And not use Technoblast. Because that would force him to find a switch card going into the next turn. And if I do retreat, he just needs Boss's Orders. And I want to say he has that in hand already. No, he has Judge. I thought he had Boss in hand. But yeah, he should definitely Glistening Droplets for 5 onto the active. But instead, he's going for the Technoblast, hitting me for 190. Locking himself from being able to attack next turn. And he's going to have to find a switch card to retreat into that Genesect and then retreat back using that double turbo energy that's on it. But I'm going to draw a card for turn. Oh, I think I was I judged or no, I was Iono'd here. Yeah, he also Iono'd me, I believe. So I only have a couple of cards in hand. Or no, did he not do that? No, he didn't do that. But my hand was just small. I only have the one Kirlia I can use. The Path to the Peak is preventing me from using the Greninja. So I evolve into the Gardevoir EX. And this is a really weird spot for me. So I play the Iono to try to limit his hand. He is under the Path to the Peak himself, so I'm going to set him to a 2-card hand and just hope that he doesn't have it. And try to dig myself closer into a Boss's Orders or a Cresselia, because I did take the Cresselia off my prize cards, I do believe. And I really, my tunnel visioning again is that I want to attack with the Cresselia this turn. And as you can see, I do play the Heavy Ball, and then I put the Heavy Ball back into my hand on accident. That is rectified in a second. I think on my next turn I realize it, and I put it in the discard pile. So yeah, we're discussing the fact that I think he can't knock me out with the Oricorio. Or no, he would be able to if he had put that 10 damage that's on the other Gardevoir to that. That's the thing, is he could have Glistening, that's the math. Is he could have Glistening Droplets on the previous turn, and then Technoblast this next turn in order to take the knockout. Without having to move his Mew. And I retreat and pass. Now, honestly, since he was not able to attack again this turn, I should have left my Gardevoir in the active spot and just hit for 190. Because then, if my opponent doesn't have it, he has to just retreat into the other Genesect. And it gives me the opportunity to maybe replace the Stadium and get the Cresselia off onto the bench. So definitely should have hit this active for 190. Even if he does... because then I could just win off of Boss's Orders too on this turn if I had it. But I don't have it, so it doesn't end up mattering. And that's where I say, hey, I put this back in my hand on accident on the last turn, so I'm going to put that in the discard pile now. And he's like, yeah, that's correct. And then I Iono my 1-card hand to the bottom. I cut his hand because he's going to be redrawing into it soon. And I draw 2 cards because of my 2 prizes. He draws 2 cards because of his 2 prizes. And I draw a whole lot of nothing. So I pass the turn. And now he replaces his own Path to the Peak with the Lost City yet again. Now he can retreat back into the Mew VMAX. And he could use Technoblast on the active to take the knockout, go down to 1 prize remaining, but then that puts him in the same position again to where he can't attack on the succeeding turns. So, so I think what he's going for is the Glistening Droplets onto the bench, and then just hoping I don't have it. So again, and no, he is able to just draw into the Boss's Orders, bring it back up, and Technoblast. So I drew the worker off that Iono. That's the card that I was looking for to get rid of the Stadium, but I just couldn't for the life of me find it. And I end up losing that game 2-0. So game 2 ended up being really crazy. We have, it looks like only like 30 seconds left on the clock. But yeah, that did not matter. I I could not do anything. And there it is. I'm showing that I took the Cresselia off the 4 prize turn and it got shuffled back into deck immediately. So that was rough for me. I definitely could have played that a lot better. I played round 1 about as bad as I did this one, but that's the thing, is sometimes with a new deck, you really do have to practice. And Alan comes over here, our buddy Alan, and he's telling me how stupid I am, first of all, because he, like, accidentally walked into a chair when I did that, attack with Gardevoir EX, like what was it? Yeah, the attack with Gardevoir EX into the Genesect turn. He literally saw me do that, walked into the chair, and he's like, why? He's like, oh, sorry. And, yeah, so I punted that, but, Alex is a good player, so, not too upset losing to him. Plus, this was a small league challenge, and I'm trying out a new deck, so just happy to get the practice in with it. As always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and all that good stuff listed up above, and we will see you guys for the 3rd and final round of this league challenge at ALA Tompkins TCG in Pleasant Valley, New York.